Hi, and welcome back. Today I want to discuss something that's been on my mind for quite a while now. I think that one of the biggest problems in America right now is that people are financially exhausted. Not broke necessarily, not failing, just mentally exhausted. People are drowning in bills, drowning in pressure, drowning in uncertainty, and then social media makes it feel like everybody else is somehow winning. And that pressure is one of the biggest reasons people feel completely stuck right now. Today, we're going to talk about why people feel frozen financially, how social media warped people's expectations, how people accidentally trap themselves financially with home ownership, and what people can start doing right now to keep more freedom, flexibility, and long-term financial control in their lives. Because I genuinely think that a lot of people aren't lazy. They're just overwhelmed. One of the things I've realized working with buyers over the last couple of years is that most people are not waiting on the perfect market. They're waiting to feel safe. And those are two completely different things. People keep saying, I'm waiting for rates to drop, or I'm waiting for prices to fall. I'm waiting for the market correction. Well, inventory increased. Sellers became negotiable, and builders started throwing incentives everywhere. And a lot of those same people are still frozen because the problem was never just the market. The problem is people feel financially stretched so thin that even making a good decision still feels terrifying. Groceries are expensive. Insurance is expensive. Taxes are up. Car payments are completely insane right now. Everything feels heavier right now. And people aren't just buying houses anymore. They feel like they're stepping into buying more stress. I think social media has completely warped people's expectations about money and success in general. People scroll online all day and they see what? Luxury homes, brand new trucks, vacations, perfect kitchens, perfect lives. And eventually, people start feeling like normal life just isn't enough anymore. Now people feel embarrassed buying starter homes because they think their first home, if it isn't their dream house, then they've somehow failed. But the truth is, most financially successful people didn't start with the perfect home. They started with a smart home. There's a huge difference. Sometimes the smartest move is buying the house that gives you flexibility, not the house that impresses strangers online. A lot of wealthy people built freedom first, then upgraded their lifestyle later. But social media flipped that order. So how do people financially trap themselves? One of the biggest financial traps I see people fall into is buying too much life too early. People stretch themselves into massive monthly obligations, and then they lose all their flexibility. And the dangerous part is it usually feels exciting at first. I got a big house, this big payment, big furniture purchase, and then a big car payment in a driveway to match the neighborhood. But then real life shows up. Insurance increases. Property taxes adjust. Escrow changes. Maintenance hits. AC goes out, or maybe you have roof issues. HOA goes up. Life changes. And then suddenly that dream house starts controlling your entire financial life. Now they can't invest. They can't travel. Can't save. Can't pivot careers. Can't survive a layoff comfortably. Your house owns you. And this is something that people need to understand. Just because the lender says you can buy something doesn't mean you should. A lot of people buy based off of their max approval instead of long-term stability. And financially successful people usually do the opposite. They leave margin because margin creates options. And options, those create your freedom. One of the smartest things people can do financially is structure their life in a way that keeps doors open. That means don't overextend yourself just to impress people. Buy below your max budget if possible. Keep emergency savings. Keep your debt low. Focus on payment comfort, not payment survival. Think about future flexibility. Could you survive a job loss? Could one spouse stop working temporarily? Could you handle a major repair? Could you rent this property out if life changes? Those questions matter way more long-term than quartz countertops or trendy light fixtures. Another huge mistake I see people make is only thinking about today's payment. Smart buyers, they're thinking about, what does this home allow me to do 5 years from now? Can this house help me build wealth? Can it keep stress low? Can it preserve flexibility? Can it create opportunity later? That mindset changes everything. Sometimes the smartest financial move is buying the house that leaves room for investing, room for life, and room to breathe. I think the middle class families are carrying more invisible pressure right now than people realize. A lot of good people feel like they're failing, when really the cost of everything just exploded around them. Insurance, childcare, food, debt, HOA, taxes, subscription, interest rates. And meanwhile, social media keeps telling people you should already be further ahead. And that pressure, it adds up. And eventually, people become emotionally paralyzed. Not because they're weak, but because they're exhausted. I think a lot of people don't need someone screaming motivation at them. I think they need clarity. I think they need a strategy. They need patience. They need somebody honest enough to say that you do not have to have your entire life figured out right now. You know, one thing the military taught me, and then fitness reinforces constantly, is that discipline usually shows up long after the results do. Most progress feels boring before it feels rewarding. Nobody claps at consistency in the beginning. Nobody sees the sacrifices. They don't see the stress. Nobody sees the uncertainty. But over time, small disciplined decisions completely change the trajectory of your life. And that applies to fitness, money, real estate, marriage, business, everything. And financially, the people who usually come out ahead long term are not always the flashiest. They're the people who kept flexibility. They kept investing, they kept learning, they kept margin in their lives and avoided trapping themselves trying to look successful too early. Confidence usually comes after movement, not before it. At the end of the day, I think that a lot of people are way harder on themselves than they should be. This market is complicated. Life is expensive and people are carrying pressure that nobody else sees. But staying frozen forever doesn't make life any easier either. Sometimes progress starts with small decisions, learning, planning, getting clarity, asking questions, having honest conversations. And if you're somebody thinking about making a move, buying a home or relocating to Florida, investing, or just trying to figure out what direction even makes sense for you or your family, then I'd genuinely be happy to help you work through it. And if this episode has connected with you at all, share it with somebody else who probably needs to hear it. I appreciate you guys for joining us today. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.